Why do so many people start losing themselves after age 80? Even those who were once healthy, sharp, and full of energy in their 60s and 70s often begin to noticeably decline after turning 80, both physically and mentally. They continue to eat the same way, take their prescribed medications, and follow medical advice, yet something inside seems to fade slowly. Many assume this downward shift is simply inevitable, just the result of aging, genetics, or fate. But modern aging science tells a different story. The factors that shorten life expectancy after 80 are often not genetic at all. They are rooted in our habits, daily rhythms, and the emotions we accumulate quietly over time. This article will take you deep into 5 rarely discussed causes, not diet, exercise, or medication, but subtle, everyday factors that are often overlooked. These don't just impact how long you live, but how you live. The good news? They can be changed, starting today. If you or a loved one is entering the 9th decade of life, this may be the new roadmap to living longer, staying healthier, and most importantly, living with greater meaning. 1. The quiet disappearance of small interactions and their big impact on longevity. In daily life, we rarely pay attention to fleeting social exchanges, a quick greeting to the mail carrier, a lighthearted joke with the grocery clerk, or a friendly nod to a neighbor walking their dog. These tiny interactions, though seemingly insignificant, are the silent lifeblood of social living and neurological health, especially after age 80. Modern neuroscience has shown that low-stakes social interactions help regulate the autonomic nervous system and maintain the brain networks responsible for memory, emotion, and social awareness. Even something as simple as visiting the same coffee shop each morning and chatting briefly with the barista can create a kind of biological rhythm that keeps the mind alert and emotionally connected. But after 80, these micro-social connections often begin to fade. Older adults tend to go out less, rely on family for errands, and avoid casual conversations due to hearing loss, cold weather, or slippery sidewalks. What seems like a simplified lifestyle is often a quiet withdrawal from micro-social life, depriving the brain of stimulation and sending the body the mistaken signal: you're no longer part of the community. The consequence isn't just loneliness, it's increased internal inflammation, reduced immunity, and cognitive and emotional decline. All of these are longevity-reducing factors that don't show immediate symptoms but silently shorten the years ahead. But it's not too late. Even the smallest gestures, like smiling at a stranger, chatting with someone in line at Walgreens, or taking a short walk around the block, are ways of telling your brain, you still belong here. On the journey to thrive beyond 80 with clarity and vitality, the answer might not be a new prescription, but a small, meaningful conversation each day. Or, when caution crosses the line and causes the body to stop living. With aging comes a heightened instinct to avoid risk, a natural and reasonable response. A minor slip in the kitchen, a moment of imbalance, stepping off a curb, and suddenly, many older adults shift into defensive mode. They stop going for evening walks, avoid bending down to pick things up, or refuse to sit in the backseat of a car because it's too hard to climb in. Gradually, movement becomes restricted. Daily rhythms slow down, and the body begins to weaken, not due to illness, but because it has simply stopped moving. The human body, especially after age 80, is not like a machine that needs rest to maintain performance. It's more like a garden. Without daily care, watering, and sunlight, it wilts, even without any pests. When you reduce everyday motions like getting up from a chair, twisting to reach something, or walking a few blocks around the neighborhood, key muscle groups, especially the core muscles, begin to quietly atrophy. This leads to loss of balance, increased risk of falling, and even reduced movement, creating a closed-loop cycle of decline. Such real-life examples are far from rare. One 82-year-old man in Florida slipped in the rain and decided to stop his daily walks, a routine he had maintained for 10 years. Within 6 months, he lost over 10 pounds of muscle, felt as weak as boiled noodles, became mentally fatigued, and experienced poor sleep. Doctors found no specific illness because the cause wasn't a disease, but a prolonged lack of movement. The important truth is this: The decline didn't come from age, it came from a lifestyle shaped by fear. And fear, when it drives, behavior teaches the body to forget how to function. The good news is, you don't need to take risks to stay healthy. You just need controlled movement without stopping. Sturdy railings, non-slip shoes, a walking cane if necessary. These are tools to keep you moving forward, not reasons to retreat in fear. That's why living longer isn't just about preventing falls, it's about having the courage to keep walking, even slowly, but never stopping. Saying, when light goes wrong, sleep and longevity quietly suffer. As we age, our bodies become more sensitive to things that once seemed simple, like light. After age 80, the biological system that governs our circadian rhythm or internal body clock becomes more easily disrupted than ever. And one of the most common yet overlooked causes is irregular exposure to both natural and artificial light. Daylight, especially morning sunlight, acts as a signal that wakes up the entire body. It tells the brain, it's time to be alert, move, and allocate energy. Meanwhile, darkness and dim light in the evening help the body produce melatonin, a hormone that promotes deep sleep, regulates mood, and supports cellular repair. However, older adults in the US today tend to spend most of their time indoors, especially during colder months. Many also nap during the day, keep bright lights on at night, and are frequently exposed to blue light from TVs, tablets, or phones late into the evening. This light confusion prevents the body from clearly distinguishing between day and night. The consequences? Difficulty falling asleep, restless nights, daytime fatigue, brain fog, mood swings, and weakened immunity. In addition, lack of sunlight exposure leads to vitamin D deficiency, a key factor in maintaining strong bones, a stable immune system, and even cognitive function. After 80, the body's ability to synthesize vitamin D through the skin drops significantly, making morning sunlight exposure more essential than ever. A simple example, an 84-year-old woman in California who had been feeling tired, confused, and unable to sleep was advised by her doctor to sit near a window for 20 minutes each morning and turn off all screens an hour before bedtime. 2 weeks later, she was sleeping better, thinking more clearly, and feeling brighter, all without a single new medication, just the right light at the right time. Elderly health is not only about what you eat or drink, it's also about when and what kind of light your body receives. Let the morning sun become your free, natural, and powerful daily medicine for life. 4. When sadness remains unspoken and the body quietly weakens, no one reaches the age of 80 without carrying some form of loss. A lifelong friend passes away, a spouse is no longer there, family gatherings become fewer and quieter. For many older Americans, these are not just distant memories, they are part of everyday life. Quiet, constant, and deep. Yet, in most cases, that pain is never shared. Not because they don't feel it, but because there's no one left to truly listen, or because they believe, at this age, you're supposed to be used to loss. But emotions left unspoken, especially sadness, that suppressed, don't just vanish. Instead, they continue to exist in the body as chronic low-grade stress, which directly affects the nervous, endocrine, and immune systems. Medical studies have shown that repressed emotions raise cortisol levels, the stress hormone leading to sleep disturbances, impaired digestion, irregular heart rhythms, and even memory decline. A clear example is George, 86, a retired engineer from Ohio. After losing his wife, he never cried and never spoke of it. "I'm fine," he would say. But within just a year, he lost nearly 15 pounds, suffered from chronic insomnia, and withdrew from all community activities. It wasn't due to any obvious illnesses. Body was simply enduring the weight of an emotional truth he had never acknowledged. This is what medical professionals refer to as an emotional load-in inner burden that hasn't been released. And here's the important part. It can be healed. Not necessarily through deep therapy or difficult conversations. Sometimes it just takes journaling in the morning, chatting with an old friend, joining a church support group, or simply allowing yourself to say, "I miss her," without feeling weak. The body needs nourishment to survive, but the heart needs relief to keep beating fully. So don't let unspoken feelings quietly steal life from you. Start with just one small action for yourself, for your health, and for the meaningful years still ahead. Woo! When there's nothing left to look forward to, longevity quietly declines. Many people believe that living a long life depends on good genetics, healthy habits, or modern medicine. But there's one crucial factor that often goes unnoticed: having a daily sense of purpose. Not a big goal like exploring the world or changing the community, but the small reasons that make you get out of bed each morning. After age 80, many older Americans begin to lose those anchors. The prayer group is put on hold, the knitting class is canceled, and visits from the grandkids become less frequent. Their calendar starts to empty, and the days of the week begin to blur together. On the outside, everything may seem normal, but on the inside, the body starts to go to sleep along with the mind. Neuropsychology has shown that when the brain no longer feels needed, survival mechanisms begin to shut down. Heart rate slows, energy regulating hormones decrease, and the immune system weakens not because of illness, but because there's nothing worth sustaining. A powerful example is Ruth, 88, from Kansas. Though she has no surviving family and her health has declined, she still keeps a set routine. Every Monday, she writes postcards to lonely seniors at her church. Every Thursday, she cooks and freezes soup to send to a local charity. And every afternoon, she sits by her window to wave at the neighborhood kids as they come home from school. No one asked her to. No one praises her. But she does it faithfully, like breathing. These small, repeated actions have become the thread connecting her mind, heart, and body. When you have something to do, watering a plant, feeding a cat, writing a letter, your cells also get the message: keep running, keep living. So if you find yourself feeling less motivated or your days feel meaningless, take it as a signal, not of aging, but of a lack of structure. And here's the good news: it can change. Start by creating a simple morning plan. Just one small thing, done consistently, is enough to remind you, I still matter. 6. Aging doesn't happen in a moment. It fades through forgotten rhythms of daily life. Most of us think that decline after age 80 is triggered by a major event, a bad fall, a medical diagnosis, or a milestone birthday. But in truth, longevity isn't shortened by a single moment. It fades away slowly, quietly, through tiny disruptions in our daily rhythm. And the scariest part is, most of us don't even notice until everything feels dull. You don't wake up one morning and suddenly feel old. The change happens little by little. Skipping your morning walk because it's cold, missing a conversation because your hearing aid didn't pick up clearly, staying up too late for your favorite television show. Each of those small choices seems harmless, but added together, they slowly alter how your body functions. And just as decline comes gradually, recovery can also begin with the smallest things. A short walk around the block, a brief chat with a cashier, even the simple act of opening a window to let in morning light. All of these can help wake up the biological systems that may have been quietly shutting down inside you. Modern neuroscience and gerontology now agree. Rhythmic routines are a key foundation for long, healthy living. Seemingly minor activities, making breakfast at the same time, journaling before bed, or spending screen-free time to unwind, are how you reset the order of your body after years of gradual letting go. If you feel like you're just drifting, don't blame age. Look instead at your daily structure. Is there too much silence? Are you letting time pass without anchoring yourself to it? Aging shouldn't be a retreat. It should be a gentle adjustment to continue living deeply. And sometimes, to restart a tired body, all it takes is one small reason to get out of bed tomorrow morning. Mr. Franklin Reed was once a high school history teacher in Eugene, Oregon. At 75, he still walked every morning, solved Sudoku puzzles every evening, and enjoyed cheerful chats with his neighbors. But after turning 80, things slowly began to change, not because of any serious illness, but because of small shifts that almost no one noticed. When the local grocery store shut down, he started ordering groceries online. The brief exchanges he once had with the cashier, interactions that made him feel like he belonged, gradually disappeared. he found himself growing quieter. After a minor slip on the back porch, Franklin decided to avoid going outside on damp days. His morning walks turned into long hours of watching the news. Within 6 months, he lost nearly 12 pounds of muscle and began to feel himself slowing down. Winters in Oregon are long and dark. Franklin stayed inside more often, leaving lights and the television on late into the night. His sleep worsened. He frequently woke up in the middle of the night and felt drained in the morning, even though he hadn't done anything strenuous. 3 years ago, he lost his best friend, a fellow teacher he'd worked alongside for over 40 years. "Men don't cry," he said. But after that, he stopped attending retired teachers' gatherings, no longer told stories from the past, and began eating less and less. When the library's reading group shut down due to the pandemic, Franklin lost his last structured weekly activity. His once busy weekends turned into quiet days filled with news broadcasts and simple meals. He couldn't remember the last time he had written something by hand. His daily routines became erratic, and he lost the feeling of living a full day. The decline didn't come from disease, it came from losing the anchors that once held his everyday life together. Just as everything seemed to slow to a halt, a family doctor who happened to be one of his former students suggested he start over with small steps, a short morning walk, journaling his feelings, calling an old friend. Bit by bit, Franklin began to feel like he was returning to himself. Not younger, but more deeply alive in his older years. 80 is not a closing door to health and happiness. It can be the beginning of a new chapter, where you don't just count the years, but feel the meaning of each day. The journey to staying healthy after 80 doesn't require grand changes. It begins with a short morning conversation, one step onto the porch to catch the sunlight, a small reason to wake up early, or a line of handwritten reflection. These seemingly tiny things are the quiet gatekeepers of a longer, more meaningful life. If something in this story resonates with you, don't hesitate to share in the comments below. Which part of this story felt most familiar to you? What small step will you take today to begin again? We'd love to hear your story, because the voices from this very community are powerful fuel for living well, joyfully, and mindfully with each passing day. And don't forget to share this story with someone you love who's entering their 70s or 80s. It just might be the most meaningful gift you give today.